Hi guys, this is Best and welcome to my first ever POE2 news video. I just watched the live stream of all the news reveal for the third edict, and if you've played Path of Exile in the past, either Path of Exile 1 or 2, it's actually an absolute banger of a patch and a lot to look forward to. So I'm going to do a run through of everything that's going to be coming along, and without further ado, let's crack straight into it. Alright, so if you're new to Path of Exile, it is an ARPG, and it is literally the leading best ARPG in the world. In my opinion, I've got about 1,200 hours in POE1, and I'm probably close to 1,000 hours now in POE2. For the first, patch 0.1 league season, I actually got the 17th place in hardcore solo self-found, and then I stopped playing because I had commitments and stuff, and ended up 594th in the league. And then in the most recent league, Dawn of the Hunt, 434th I am currently in that league. So I actually do have a fair bit of experience in this game. So hopefully that gives me some sort of verification. I actually know what I'm talking about when I talk about this stuff. And I'm actually hooked and loving this game. So what is to come in the new league? All right, so starting up, the league will be on the 29th of August, and it'll be free to play for about 3 days' time. So if you want to check out the game, it's free to play. If you want to get involved and play it long term, I'll have a link down below, and you can actually use my affiliate link to help me get more of these opportunities. This is a sponsored video, and I'm actually excited to do it because one other Path of Exile video in the past, and it's a new player's guide to Path of Exile 2. If you want to get into it, that video is definitely worth a watch. So in the previous Path of Exile 2 or POE2, had a Acts 1 to 3, and then you would have to replay those Acts 1 to 3 in Cruel. They wanted to address that issue whilst adding Act 4, and there'll be 6 acts eventually. But Act 4, the story continues. It's non-linear, so you actually get to pick wherever you want to go. It's not like you have to do in the order of the zones like in Act 1. You literally can pick wherever you want to go. And there are 8 islands to go to. In those 8 islands, there is a total of 16 areas. So 2 per island, pretty much. 100 new monsters, 12 new bosses, and eventually there'll be an ascendancy in the 4th act. Now, instead of going back and doing Acts 1 to 3 in Cruel, you will actually now have an Interlude Act. There's 3 areas for the Interlude Act, and you could do them also in any order. The Curse of Von Holten, the Stolen Barya, and Doyani's Contingency. These are actually temporary. They're going to have bosses in there, and there's a lot to do in all these areas. Eventually, those bosses and all that will get put into Act 5 and 6. So it's not like they're wasting their time with these Interlude Acts, but the content that they've put in there, some of it is borrowed from Endgame maps and stuff, and other stuff will get put into Acts 5 and 6. So then, eventually, like in patch 0.4 and 5, they'll have those Acts 5 and 6 in there with all this stuff. In total, though, there is 35 new areas, 24 new bosses, and it's thick and juicy. They've actually done a lot of stuff to help make the maps feel and the areas feel a lot more dense. Next up, sprinting. So in the past, a lot of the complaints and issues with the game is that it felt very slow moving. Now, if you do a roll and hold your roll after you do it, you will be able to sprint. And you can actually pretty much move faster than any mob in the game, they said. However, if you get hit while sprinting, you'll have like a stun. It's kind of like when you're doing a block and you overblock too much, it'll be like a stun like that. There is no limit to how long you sprint for. So if you're actually getting a bit more experienced, you can actually use this to help breeze through areas if you're good at actually dodging. Support gems. In the past, you could only use 1 support gem per your whole character, but now they've actually removed that. It's not limited to 1 anymore. You can have as many copies as you like. So if you have a specific gem that works, say, with minions, I've done a lot of minion builds, you can use that same gem over all your different minions. There's also now 5 tiers of support gems instead of 3, and some of the support gems have levels 1, 2, and 3. So even more powerful versions of those support gems. As well as that, towards the end game, that's called Lineage Support. They're only available in the end game. They're upgraded of support gems that are already in the game, and they'll be found either via specific bosses or in the loot pool at the end game. Some are rare and some are common. There's actually about 40 of them in total. Skill changes. Now, I'd highly recommend going to watch the actual whole dev cast of the actual skill changes section because it was massive. Every single class has a lot of skill changes that are affecting them, but I think I'll just give you the most pertinent ones that I can give. So pretty much anything that's like an elemental effect that you would give to someone like shock or chill, it now is affects all the different casts. So instead of it just being lightning damage, it will be also fire damage and that stuff like that. And it lasts 8 seconds instead of 4 seconds. So it now gives an elemental ailment instead of specific. They've reworked a lot of the ascendancies, or every single class's ascendancies will have some changes to it to make them better. And weapon swap is now instant. instant, which is great because I use actually a lot of weapon swapping in my skills, and it was one of the things it really annoyed me about it. Now, evasion. Evasion doesn't evade all types of hits in the game, so they had to add a new thing called deflect. You could actually buff this deflect to having it up to 100%, and if you do deflect, it prevents 40% of damage taken. So if it's an ability or skill that you couldn't evade, you can at least now get 40% damage reduction. So you're going to be a lot less rippy on like a ranger build. Armor has now been buffed. So there's also skills in the game or passive skills in the game that also increase the defense against elemental attacks, which is where armor really fell short. Over the passive tree, a massive overhaul to the passive tree. There's now another 100 new notables in the passive tree. Now, one of the actual things that really annoyed me was when I was starting to get towards the end game, even leveling as well. Attribute requirements of leveling up a gem was actually really a pain in the ass. They've actually done a 25% reduction. So it's down from 207, I think it was, down to 157. So particularly at that end game, you had to really min-max to get enough intelligence, say on a skill. Now you don't have to get anywhere near as much. It's huge, actually. The new league mechanic, Rise of the Abyssal. It's a race of forbidden magic. You'll find fissures in the earth, mobs being affected by them. As you defeat those mobs, you'll seal up the pit and activate hordes that will attack from a giant pit from underneath the ground. Once you kill them all, the actual pit will be sealed up and it will give a reward trove that spawns epic loot. As you complete these, you'll find ancient pieces of bones, which you can use to imbue items with a hidden modifier. You'll have to go to the Well of Souls to actually be able to expose what that is, and some of these can also imbue waystones, giving some really cool buffs. Similar to the Syndicate in Path of Exile 1 if you ever played that. You will also be able to find new socketables for this league, including timeless jewels. There is a finger to hand into the Well of Souls, and it'll make you jump in. And then they left it on a cliffhanger, so you have to find out what actually happens there. Now, for the end game, one of the more contentious things, people complain a lot about the end game and how it kind of feels like you're building up to like doing something massive. There's going to be a massive overhaul for the end game in the patch 0.4. However, they've tried to make this one a lot more dense as well, in like not placeholder, but as they build up to patch 0.4, which will probably be around December because they want to do it every 4 months. But as it stands right now, endgame, 25 new maps. There's cyclones, maelstroms, and valve vaults within the map. So there'll be like whirly whirls throughout the map, and you'll have to clear the 3 maps around it to get access to inside that cyclone, maelstrom, or valve vault. Inside all these areas, there'll be Uber versions of the Act 4 bosses, and they'll have special support gems when you kill them. Maps can contain summoning circles, which can spawn boss. So any of the maps can contain summoning circles, have boss spawns in there. Waystone modifiers have been changed. Pack size, quantity, it's very similar to the POE1 method, and it is way better. You're going to be able to have a lot more control over making stuff more dense and better loot. Kind of similar to how it was in POE1. Now, one of the big endgames thing that was actually quite painful for me, particularly early on, was like, say you were going to do like the ritual, trying to get the extra skill points in the ritual ascendancy part or path. Now you're going to be able to get access to getting those books earlier. You're also going to have splinters, and you can pick the difficulty of the end game content, so of the end game bosses. So it's going to make it a lot more like, I guess, linear. So you're not going to be grinding for like 50 hours to get your first end game boss and then have to like get them lots after that. It should actually be a lot more smoother process. Currently there's 2 skill points you'll get before getting to the end game bosses, but eventually they want to make it 4. So 4 out of the 8 you'll get before even doing the end game bosses. Arbiter only has 2 difficulties now, a normal difficulty and an uber difficulty, and there's lots of new end game items. Crafting had a massive overhaul as well. Essences function a lot like regals. They add specific modifiers, more tiers, and there's the perfect essences. So there's a third one, acts like a chaos orb. They're actually really cool, and you'll be able to actually use them as you level up, whereas in the past I never really used my essences, but you'll understand once you see them. But for example, you'll have like a fire essence. It'll actually say it's going to add to a weapon, you know, fire damage of a specific amount. So it's actually really good. You're also going to be able to find 3 tiers of transmutes and orgs, which is pretty much like finding a tier 3 item on the ground. So when you get to the tier 3 transmutes and orgs on a white item, it's actually going to roll better straight away instead of having to like waste so many, and there's going to be less of those transmutes and orgs in the end game. You're also going to be able to find exceptional items on the ground. So exceptional like white items on the ground. These can contain additional sockets for your crafting, or will have up to 30% quality. You can also corrupt these to have an additional socket on top of that. So if it was an item that previously only had one socket, if you find an exceptional one and Val Orbit, you can actually have 3 on that. So there's a few new omens being added to the game, notably the Sanctify Omen, which if you use it with a Divine, it will actually give 80 to 100%, 20% roll. Actually massive there, so you can actually overpower an item above what its actual default is. And there's, I'm going to say it wrong, Penicor's Lock, which is a new currency that will make it so you use it so you can actually see what the next craft or, buff that you're going to be putting to that item will be before you do it, so you know if it's going to be a good one to do or not. Now, the trade system, massive change to the trade system. There is going to be, I don't know how to say this word, a fully asynchronous trade, which effectively means you'll have a trader. Once you get to your hideout, you'll be able to have a trader inside your hideout, which you can put items in that trader, and therefore people can come to your hideout to buy those items. So once you put it inside that trader, set the value, it'll go up on the website. People can go click on that website. It'll automatically teleport them to your hideout with the box open and the item selected, so they can just purchase it straight away. So you could be offline or in a map, someone can come into your hideout, buy that item off you that you have up on the trade website, and the currency will get put into a tab there for you to pick up later on. Vice versa, if they're offline, you can buy from them and while they're offline, and go to their stash and buy that item, or go to their hideout and buy that item, and therefore you don't have to get AFK messages all the time. It comes with a default tab, I believe, at least one default tab, but you're actually going to be able to transfer any of your premium tabs over to that trader or to that vendor. So if you so please. There's going to be another supporter pack added to this, so you'll be able to support the game even further if you wish. And during the Q&A, they brought up the Druid. It didn't make it. It was most of the way there, but they wanted to make sure they get the patch out on time and polished. So Druid got pushed back, but it sounds like it's definitely going to be in patch 0.4, which will be December. The new Ascendancy trial for the 4th act didn't make it, so they're going to push that back to the next one. The focus on this patch is to make sure that the campaign doesn't feel like a slog anymore. And then the patch 0.4 is going to have a massive focus on the end game. So lots of good things to look forward to. I'm going to be playing the shit out of this. I'm going to smash top 100. I'm actually going to crack top 10. I'm saying it right now. I'm going to crack top 10 hardcore solo self-found in the first week of the league. All right, so that'll be 8 days from now, about 8 days from when this video goes out. It'll be a free-to-play weekend if you guys want to get involved. If you want to help me get more of these awesome opportunities, go down to the link below and click the affiliate link to cross if you want to buy the supporter pack. The game will be free when 1.0 comes out, but if you want early access, you do need to buy the base level. But it gives you currency for inside the game to actually buy more stash tabs. Or skins. Besides that, thank you Path of Exile for sponsoring this video, and like, comment, all the good stuff. Let me know if you're excited. I'm going to be playing a witch, probably start off with either Contagion ED or Minion, and then work it out from there. And lastly, guys, I'll see you next time.